Hey everyone, it's Chino here. Thanks for coming to watch my video. It is now a couple of days after Christmas, and I thought I'd try to get a video out before the year's up. Now, if you're probably watching this video sometime in the future, so none of this is relevant, but if you're watching this right now, Merry Christmas. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and hope you've got a really great 2021 planned and you're doing something for New Year, even if it's just locked in your house, working on power apps. Hey, doing something that you enjoy doing is always going to be a good thing and going to start the year off on a good note. So, like I said, I wanted to try to get a video out before the year was up, and I've been thinking about this idea for a while to do a sort of a video demonstrating the visual sort of freedom that you have with power apps. But yeah, I kind of just kept putting it on the back burner. I've been, I guess, pretty lazy of late. And as you may have noticed, I didn't really get a huge amount of videos out in December, but I really wanted to get a video out before the year was out. So I have chosen this subject and I think it's a pretty good one. In front of us here, we've got a typical power app. And this is like, I'm kind of guilty of making it really ugly. And I know even with a tiny little bit of work, this could look a hell of a lot better. But basically this app is everything, I've just used sort of out of the box styling for everything. So these buttons, for example, they're just pretty much when you click on new button and you drop it down onto the canvas, this is like the default color and default font size and stuff. So, a lot of people, where some people might have the sort of artistic flair and go, look, I want to tweak this and make it look exactly how I want it to look. I think a lot of people, and especially people new to Power Apps, will just sort of decide, this is what I've got and this is what I've got to play with. And, I can't really do much else with how Power Apps looks. Look, I can drag a button anywhere on the screen, which is cool, and I might even be able to change the color somewhat, but I really can't do much else. The reality is that you can tweak the look quite a bit and you do get quite a lot of freedom with power apps on how you want your app to look on screen. So that's, like I said, this is what this video is all about. Let's play around with this particular app. Get rid of that button. So I've got an app here that, let me just run it quickly. And it just connects to my data source, and it's just displaying some books that are in my library. I've got some test records here, just ignore that. But when I click on one of these records, it just changes this view here and shows me a bit more information. I have absolutely nothing in here. And I'm not showing what's that showing? No, it's not showing. So let me just change this. Gallery 1, selected. May or may not have any data in the database for that. Right, I don't have anything in there, so go and change that back. The other thing this app does is these buttons here will filter the results down further. So if I hit sci-fi, it'll just show me all my sci-fi books that I've got in my library or all the bios, and then I can just show all of them. And just for anyone who's interested, technically how I did this, just on app load, I load my collection into my data source into a collection. And then this gallery is actually showing the collection items. So whenever I click on one of these buttons, all I do is I am, if we go on select here, I'm filtering the data source and I'm building the collection again based on a filter. And this just recollects all the data and filters it out by the genre value that's coming from the data source. So coming from a column in the data source. Okay, like I said, this video is about, not about technically how I did this. Pretty simple app. I'm sure most of you know how to do this already. I just really wanted to touch on the visual aspects of how to get this sort of looking a lot better than what it looks now. So the first thing I'd probably do is get a feel for how this app looks. I'm going to set a background, and that's a real quick way to change this sort of plain white background that you get for all Canvas apps. I mean, you could just go in and change the fill color, which would have a, which would go a fair way to changing the way this looks. But this kind of flat color to me looks a bit boring. So let's go in and add a background image. So I've got my screen selected because we're setting a background image on my screen. And if you've got multiple screens in your Power App, you will have to add this to all your screens if you wanted the same background image. I'm going to go in here and I've already got one loaded, which is a blue green background gradient. Well, this one's called blue gradient background. Some others in here I was playing around with, but I ended up settling on that one. So you can see now this is already dramatically changed how this app looks. A lot of this text is not really readable and, is not really suitable for that to sit in front of this color. But, it's already starting to look a bit better just with that. So the next thing I'd like to do, well, as we touched on text color, I'm going to change this text color to something else. And the way I like doing that, well, the way I like settling on a color, I use a site called Color Picker. Let me just Google that. No, not called Color Picker. It's called Flat Color UI. So there are many sites like this on the internet, but what you can do with this is you can find a palette that is suitable for your application. Now, with my app, we look at this background and see that this palette here probably fits the best with that kind of background color. So I'm going to go with these, well, something similar to this for all my colors in my application, with the exception maybe black or a darker color for the text. Okay, so let's close it down. Let's go back to the app. And now that I have my color palette, I'm going to choose, let's choose this particular text here. I'm going to change all three boxes, and for the color, I'm just going to go that RGBA value, 96.199.193.1. And that looks quite faint at the moment, but we are going to do something with this section in a minute. And for this, I'm just going to go, let's change this to white. And the white RGBA value is 255, 255, and 1. Now here's where it gets a little bit tricky, because I actually want this to look, I want sort of these components to sort of stand out off the background. So I want to insert something in the back here to make this really stand out. One thing we could do, and this is how I used to do it, is I used to grab these icons and find something like maybe a rectangle, and then place that onto the canvas and reorder that so it's right at the back. Then you can see this is now kind of sitting like behind the text, and we can, even though this blue is not the great color to see that text, so if we maybe change that to a gray, or no, that's still not very good. Not in our color palette range, obviously, but look, this is looking, better than just having that text sitting straight onto the background. But with these icons, we don't really get much control over how they look. We can set their color, but I guess we can put a border on it as well, but we really can't do much more with it. So let's get rid of that. Another great control Power App gives us is the HTML text control. Now, what this allows us to do is to use HTML and CSS to do some really funky, cool stuff visually. So let's take this HTML text control and let's send that all the way to the back because we want this text to sit on top. And in here, we want to do some HTML to make this left-hand side of our application just look so much better. So let's start with the div. And this is just standard HTML. I'm going to set a style on that div. And the style, open and close, single quote, because this HTML text control is a control and it takes a HTML string. So we have to encapsulate the outside of this entire block of text with double quotes. So any of the HTML styling inside of this inside of these double quotes you have to use single quotes only. Otherwise, powerapps will escape out of the string and you'll end up with a broken string. So let's just remember we have to use single quotes. And I'm going to give this a cool border radius because I like border radiuses. Let's just say 14 pixels. Now I'm going to fix the width of it. Well, the width I'm actually going to set at 98% of our HTML control. But I'm going to fix the height. And let's just say 500 pixels. And our background will be white. Close that div. Just move these down a bit. And expand our HTML control up so we can see our whole box. Right, so if we run that quickly, now we've got this sort of cool box here that we can set our text above, and it's starting to look, a lot sort of more neater now. We go back. I'm going to keep going with this because I'm not quite finished with styling. So inside of this div, just expand this out so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to put another div. Make sure we close that div off. In there, I'm going to put some more styling on this. Oh, make sure that's inside of that open div tag. Style. Border radius. 14 again. Actually, for this, I'm gonna put because this is I'm basically going to split this box in two. So for this top div, I only want the top two parts of the border with a radius, but the bottom corners of the div, I don't want any radius. So this is left, right, bottom right, bottom left corner of the div. So we've got a 14 border radius on the top two corners of the div, which will match this top two. So we're putting another div in here, and we just want it to fit into the top half, but we want the bottom half of the div to square off. And that's how we do that with that border radius. I'm going to give this a height of 150. And I played around with the colors off camera, and I liked the contrast of this particular color. E6625D. So this is the X value with the color I'm using as the background. All right, so if we have a look at that, and now we've got this pink color, or I guess kind of a salmony color, but I thought this looked quite good as a contrast against this gradient background. So what I'm going to do here, we just find these particular components. I'm going to move these down. So I'm going to move this image and the title of the app inside of this salmon color. Right, okay. If we grab all of this, not the button, grab this HTML control and the image, I think that's everything. We can move text up, have it sort of sitting in this corner here. The other cool thing we could do here is just, once I've highlighted everything, I can just go right click and group them. And now they'll all sit in that group. So now whenever I want to select everything, I can just grab that group. Oh, right, I missed some stuff. What did I miss? Didn't get into the group. Oh, everything. I moved stuff inside of the group accidentally. The cool thing about creating a group, I can click on group and then I can just move all those controls around with one click. Now, I'm not quite finished with this HTML because I think I can make it a bit better. And this text isn't really showing up really well on that white background. So let's go with another color. And again, I'm going to play around with my HTML background. I'm going to create another div here. Select that and just go to HTML text. And so we've got our outer div and then our first inner div here. It's a bit hard to read when it's all sort of lined up and it's not indented, but you just need to keep track of keep track of where your HTML is. So this is our outer div tag. So we want to have the div fall in underneath this first inner div. I'm going to create another one. That's our open div and close div tag. And this is going to be the opposite of this because I want the bottom of this to be rounded, but I want it to meet this top div squared off so it just sits flush against each other. So do that with another border radius. But the top two are going to be 0. And the bottom two corners are going to have that curve. And because our entire box is 500 pixels high, I know this box has to be 450 pixels to fill the rest of it. No, 350. Do your maths, Chino. 350. And I want to set a background color because, like I said, this background of white is not totally working with that text color. And I have a color that I've prepared earlier. And that, again, this is just the hex value of that color. If that color picker site that I showed you, let's just bring that back up. Color picker. Any color picker you really use, even this sort of out of the box Google one, will give you this hex value. So if you slide this along and try to find a color that you like, and if I sort of want a color in this, if I'm going to make my app all these sort of colors in this range, any color that I choose on the screen now are really going to work well with each other. And you can see here, it gives us the hex value for that particular color, and powerapps will use this color HTML will use this color when we're setting our color value for our background. So you can see on the screen here, we're also getting this RGB value, and these values are what we put in that RGBA function when we're actually setting colors on powerapps controls. And if we just go back and I just show you, say with the button, and we go to color, this RGBA value, they're those RGB values that correspond to each different color that makes up that entire color. This last value here is the alpha, and that will control what sort of level of visibility that we have, or how much fade or how see-through our object is. So if we lower this, we put 0.5, this suddenly becomes transparent. Yeah, we can see, even though we're hovering over, we can kind of see stuff behind it. If we make it even more transparent, we're actually setting, we're setting the text value there. So if I set the background color, fill color, and I would set this to 0.5. Now this whole box is now transparent. That's our alpha. And that's how you make things transparent. So let's go back to what we were initially doing. So now we have our box. We can let's line this stuff up. I think I want to play around. The next thing I probably want to do is play around the sizes of this text. So I don't really want to use the default. I might use the default for this one, but this is a pretty good size. But I want to make this smaller. Let's drop down the author. Say, no, that's going to be too small. But if we go up to our toolbar and we can easily set our font size here to whatever we want it to be. And I might make it, yeah, 12 looks pretty good. Yep, they're not overlapping. So yeah, I think that's probably good. Maybe we'll make this 12 as well, or maybe even smaller. Let's go 10. Okay, so that is already looking way, way better, but we don't have to stop there. Now we've got these 4 buttons down here that are just sort of, even if they were nicely aligned here, this is really pretty boring. Doesn't look very good, but we've got 4 menu items. I think currently I'm not really doing anything with this, but let's sort of make this look like, I think this would look good if we made this look like a menu bar or like a nav bar. And we can easily do this. All we have to do is push these together. Now, not a lot of controls get the border radius, the ability to change this border radius, but on the button control, we actually do get a border radius functionality here. So really great. We can modify our border radius, and we don't have to just do an overall border radius. We can do each corner individually. So as I'm going to want to make this a nav bar, I want this left-hand side to be curved and this right-hand side to be curved to fit in with this overall aesthetic that we're going for. So let's go a top left here, maybe give that 10. That looks good. So we're selecting the first button on the left and we're giving that top left radius a 10, and we need to do the bottom left radius of 10. So now we've got this sort of curved side, but this other side is squared off, so we need to do this other button. So we want to change now the radius top right to 10. Whoop, and radius bottom right to 10. And now we have this really cool navbar looking. You move that around. Let's group that as well. Call that navbar so we know what we're looking at. Now these buttons are no longer really fitting in with our color scheme, so let's give them another color that's in our color palette that we've chosen. Again, I'm just using the color picker from that site, and let me select, because they're all going to be the same color. I'll select all 4 controls, go up here and look for the fill, because fill is background color, and just change that to that. So now we have all of these sort of colors now all sitting really nicely in our same color palette. Okay, and we can, because we grouped this, we can just, we grouped these, we can just center them and move them exactly where we want them to sit on the screen. And these buttons are still individually, if we run this, they're still individually selectable, but they look like one sort of menu bar now, which is awesome. Exactly what we want. But we've got these other buttons up here that are still looking sort of that standard blue color, which isn't great. So let's just rename this to info box. Let's move our info box down a little bit, because what I want to do here, I want these buttons to actually look like little tabs on top of our info box. And with this sort of radius curve, we can sit these on here just like tabs, and they, it should look good. So let's give that a go. So I'll select all 3, because all 3 are going to have the same radius. So I want just the top 2 corners to have a radius on them. So if we go top left, see how that looks with 10. 10's not too bad. So top left and top right, I'm going to give a radius of 10. All right, they're kind of looking like tabs now. Now, if I fit these over here, they, obviously they're going to look too big. So I need them a lot smaller than what they are now. So let's highlight all three and maybe shrink these guys right down. And also set this text maybe to 11. Now the last thing we need to do is also set that color, and I want the same color background that I chose for that. So we go up to fill, got all three boxes highlighted. Let's just change that to our new color. I move these to sit on top. And now we have these tabs, not quite aligning with the top of the, let's just find the height value. You can do this if stuff just doesn't really quite align. Grab all three and we'll go to the height. We just want to set this a little bit lower, or not, actually not height. We want to go to the Y value. You just push these down. How does that look? Perfect. I'm going to move these to the end here. Cool. So now we've got these, even though they're just standard Power Apps buttons, they look like tabs now. So if we run this, we can click on these and they're fully interactable. All right, so the only thing left I think we really need to do is modify our gallery here, because it's still just got the out-of-the-box styling. So I think we'll go with another HTML control behind it to get this nice curvy sort of background on it. So let's create another, HTML control. I'll line this up with the other box. And we'll fill the screen nicely. And in here, I want another div. And here, my styling is going to be a border radius 14, because that was the value I used for the other border radiuses. I'm going to go width 98%. Again, my height is going to be 500 because I want it to match the other. And background color, let's just adjust that. Okay, so our HTML control is sitting right at the top of the stack here, so we need to move this down. So let's just align this. Sorry, let's just reorder this control to the back. Now we can see our gallery above, in front of it. We just move this so it kind of sits, everything sits aligned. We just shift ever so slightly to the right. Okay, so now we've got this cool box. If we run this, got this cool curved sort of box sitting behind our gallery. Now we can do a little bit more here. And we can play around with sort of our alphas and that kind of stuff. And just a couple more things that I think we can do to even improve this more, maybe, is like maybe put an image. Let's grab another image control. Now this may or may not be something that you would like to do. Let's just stretch this so it fits over the entire gallery space. And I want to play around with the alpha so we can see our gallery through this image, or this image sort of sits behind really faintly for our gallery. I think that might look pretty good. And for images, we have this property called transparency. So if I just set this to say 0.5, suddenly it becomes a lot more transparent. 0.5 still seems a bit too, we can still see the image too clearly. So we sort of need to reduce this value. I think maybe 0.05, 0.9. So at 0.9, we can just sort of see that image peeking through in the background. Now if we run this, our app looks completely different to how we had it before. And visually looking so much better. The other things we could play around with here is maybe, because this is HTML, we can also give these little box shadows. So I'll just select our gallery background, and we use this CSS property called box-shadow. I kind of had to play around with this off screen as well. For this color palette, I thought that particular box shadow looked pretty good. We do the same, copy that, do the same for this HTML box as well. So the outer div, we also want to give that box shadow to. So if we run that, now our backgrounds are kind of sitting up off the page. We could even do one for these background, this menu bar as well. So this could be something you might want to add on your own. But you can clearly see that this app is, completely visually, completely different to what we started with out of the box, and kind of gives you, hopefully this has given you a bit of an idea of how much freedom you actually get with Power Apps, and with a little bit of imagination and maybe a bit of sort of artistic flair, you can just about make your Power App, look any way you want it to look. So that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, click the like button. I try to post new videos every couple of weeks, so hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all the latest content, and comment something in the comment section below. I thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.